at 7:05 p.m. And if we would stand, salute the flag, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Recommend approving tonight's agenda as submitted.
So moved.
First, Mrs. Pugh.
Second.
Second, Mr. Nichols. Roll call vote, Mrs. Pugh.
Approved.
Mr. Nichols.
Approved.
Mrs. Isler.
Approved.
And Ms. Ralph.
Approved.
So approved. Recommend the approval of the minutes of the Board of Education regular meeting of May 7th, 2025.
So moved.
First, Mr. Nichols. Second, Mrs. Isler. Roll call vote, Mr. Nichols.
Approved.
Mrs. Isler.
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh.
Approved.
And Ms. Ralph.
Approved.
So approved. Recommend the approval of the minutes of the Board of Education student disciplinary hearing of May 21st, 2025.
So moved.
First, Mrs. Isler.
Second.
Second, Mr. Nichols. Roll call vote, Mrs. Isler.
Approved.
Mr. Nichols.
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh.
Approved.
And Ms. Ralph.
Approved.
So approved. We have no guests this evening. Any communication announcements, Dr. Larimore?
Nope.
Okay, no public participation. Superintendent remarks?
It's been a great year. Thanks to everybody for all your hard work. I appreciate it.
All three of you.
Yeah. He meant to say Munyo.
Excuse me, all five of you, six of you. Okay, any board participation? Nope, no, we have none. Okay, let's move right along.
Just continue to enjoy your summers and be safe.
That's it. Monthly financial report. This is where we get into this.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Tonight I have for you the FY '26 tax warrant and the preliminary budget. So an overview of the tax warrant. Of course, we had reassessment. Sussex County completed that the end of May. And we went from 136 million to about 2.2 billion in our property assessment values. So that's about 16 times our rate or assessed value from last year. I've recalculated the tax rate in accordance with Delaware Code. It was $4.1775 last year. It is now, or proposed, just under 30 cents, 0.2989.
0.2989.
Yes.
Now, will this be, by June 30, will this be as far as with Sussex County Council? I mean, is this gonna be the rate?
This will be the rate for us, for
For us.
Laurel School District. And then Sussex County will add their rate, Sussex Tech will add their rate. So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So this is just Laurel School District.
Okay, so you can't take this and figure out what your tax bill is gonna be?
Right, that's only the Laurel School District portion.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So our rate changes, the current operating expenses, it reflects the 10% increase permitted by Delaware Code. The debt service rate continues to decrease as debt is paid. And our tuition expenses increase substantially, so I just wanted to point that out. That the tuition that we paid to other districts and programs, such as Scope or Sussex Consortium, Howard T. Ennis, that actually increased this past year about $200,000 than what we had anticipated. So that plus another $200,000 estimated for this coming year to make up for that. We also added 3 teachers and 2 paras to our payroll list that's coming out of that fund to service our intense and complex students. And we've also budgeted $75,000 for contracted services for additional support within the district. So that is the tax warrant.
So you said the 200,000, okay, I saw the 200,000, are you saying an additional 200,000, which is 400,000?
Yeah, so this year, we paid 200,000 more than what I had anticipated.
Uh-huh,
So I've included that into the budget for this coming year as well, so that's like $400,000
oh, okay,
to add, yeah,
okay.
to make up for that. For our preliminary budget for FY '26, just some highlights. I did include $68,000 for a van for students. We have the HVAC program that's starting their third cohort this year. They travel to Woodbridge currently about 2 or 3 times a week, about every other day. Since we're starting the third cohort, they are going to be traveling 5 days a week. So that's occupying our best van all week long for that one program. So that only left us with 2 other older vans that, for our other programs, for student transportation for different activities and such. And those vans, we don't like to have them go too far. So we're asking for another new van. Also, we had an increase in security costs at athletic events. So that was $20,000, and an increase of travel expenses for athletics for $10,000. And then a $20,000 increase for custodial supplies that's going to replace federal ESSER money that we don't have anymore. So that was our sanitation materials, bleach and all that kind of stuff. So overall, for this year, I'm looking at a projected deficit of about 27,000, and then our projected deficit for next year is just under 500,000, about 481,000. And I wanted to point out that that the projected deficit for this coming year is based on being 100% staffed. Since we are not 100% staffed, we see what you might call a financial savings, but of course that comes at the expense of our staffing, our students, and our programs. So I try to budget for being 100% staffed. So we're looking at about a budget deficit of just under 500,000. Do you have any questions on the budget?
So you said the 26,000, well, where does this 187,000?
187,000 for what?
187,736, FY 2025 final budget. This is where, in order to balance the budget, it would have to come out of reserves. But then you just said something about 26 or 27,000, am I?
This year, for our year ending now, June
Yes.
30th, I'm anticipating $27,000 deficit.
So then this 187 that's on here doesn't come into play?
The 481,000?
No, that's next year.
Oh, what page are you on? I'm sorry.
This is on
That same
the
page that she just said, there were 81,000. It's the
the
same.
FY 2026 preliminary budget sheet, page 5.
She just gave you this quote.
Right, that's next year, but this is right
So I was
now,
telling her right next to it.
right.
Oh, the FY 2025, that was the final budget that was approved in December or January. So that was the budget that we had about 6 months ago.
Yes.
Where we anticipated about $187,000 deficit.
Right,
But actual, we're looking about 27,000.
well, that's good.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's good. Like I said, it's good financially, but that's because we haven't been fully staffed.
Okay, all right.
So I just wanted to make sure that you understand why there's the difference between actual isn't so bad, but projected isn't so good. So
Right.
it's,
Do you remember what the projected was this past year? I know it turned out being 27,000 deficit, but do you remember what it was projected to be?
that's the 187,736. That was our final budget from last year. I believe our preliminary budget last year was a deficit projection of like 900,000, if I'm correct.
Would a bus be cheaper than these vans?
Well, I did want to comment on I don't know, if the bus would be cheaper. By the time the mileage, everything, is certainly something we can look into. Maybe Laura already has looked into that, but I don't think it's a long-term solution either way, because the program that is there, they've had changes in the teacher several times. And I don't know if they're getting out of it everything that they should. However, we really would be doing a disservice to our kids not to have an HVAC program, because you can come out, it's one of the hot demand careers right now. You can make $65,000 coming out as an apprentice. So what I've talked to Daryl about it, is when everything gets behind us a little bit, is purchasing or building a pole building and having a shop out here and just having HVAC here. I've got Ashley talking to the state to see what needs to be done for us to just have that pathway here. Well, we gotta have a place for them. Bub said, just use the shop as a work, He said Mike Brown, he volunteered Mike Brown's part of it.
There you go.
Of the building.
Should we vote on that?
Mike Brown back in the closet.
Laura, have you discussed with Susan or anyone the possibility of a bus taking the kids?
I've not looked into a bus, but I would think that you would have to have a special license in order to be able to drive it. So the
But I mean,
van,
hiring, I'm thinking hiring one of our existing
oh,
school buses.
using a
Drivers, one
contractor,
of our contractors,
yeah, I don't know.
just like a sporting event.
Yeah,
but-
we would have to look into what that cost would be.
Can you do that for the August meeting? Can you
Yeah.
look at cost versus hiring, the cost of the para versus the cost of hiring the driver and the fuel and the rental of the bus?
Sure,
Thank you.
okay. Any other questions on the budget? Okay. In your budget also, there's this graph. It just shows you over the years, there's about 10 years worth of data there of our local and reserve fund. So the last two bars, of course, is showing you the 2025 estimate with the $27,000 projected deficit, and then the last bar being your preliminary budget deficit projection, 481,000. So just showing you a picture of how the funds have kind of leveled off in these last couple years. But again, this is because we haven't been fully staffed.
Right.
So if we had been fully staffed, you'd look a lot more like 2022 and further down. So just keeping that in mind.
And with not fully staffed, you return money to the state, correct?
We claim the money back.
We claim it back.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
how we're saving our money
Right.
by not having to pay the local portion of someone's salary,
Right,
but also not having to pay the state portion.
right,
So-
okay. Okay,
And this is the graph I typically show you every month of our reserve and local fund by the month. So this is where we are compared to last year. Okay. Any other questions?
What's our go broke date? We might as well ask it.
go broke date.
Well, depending on our staffing levels, I would say if we're fully staffed, I would be looking at about 6 years.
Looking at
Fully
what?
staffed, how many years?
If we're fully staffed, I would say about 6 years.
6 years?
06.
If we don't touch the money for anything else.
That too.
That's taking in inflation, rising costs.
I would say so,
Okay,
about 6 years.
5 years, play safe.
Okay.
If you don't spend any.
Where's the, who you talking to?
I'm talking to you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay, FY preliminary budget. Recommend to approve the FY '26 preliminary budget as submitted.
So moved.
First, Mrs. Isler.
Second.
Second, Mrs. Pugh, I believe. Roll call vote, Mrs. Isler.
Approve.
Mrs. Pugh.
Approve.
Mr. Nichols.
Approve.
And Ms. Ralph.
Approve.
So approved. The official tax warrant report. Recommend to approve tax warrant report as submitted. The county property tax rate of .29890 on every $100 of assessed value and $24.30 per capitation pending any changes to the state's bond bill on June 30, 2025.
So moved.
First, Mr. Nichols.
Second.
Second, Mrs. Isler. Roll call vote, Mr. Nichols?
Approve.
Mrs. Isler?
Approve.
Mrs. Pugh?
Approve.
And Ms. Ralph?
Approved.
So approved. Unfinished business, recommend second reading of policy IJNDC, Internet Safety and Acceptable Use of Technology, as submitted and found on the district website in the Board of Education Policy section and as found at the law school district sites. This policy was available for review by the community at the law school district buildings and on the district website.
So moved.
First, Mr. Nichols.
Second.
Second, Mrs. Isler. Roll call vote, Mr. Nichols?
Approve.
Mrs. Isler?
Approve.
Mrs. Pugh?
Approve.
And Ms. Ralph?
Approved.
So approved. Fundraisers, recommend approval of fundraisers as a group.
So moved.
First, Mrs. Pugh.
Second.
Second, Mr. Nichols. Roll call vote, Mrs. Pugh?
Approve.
Mr. Nichols?
Approve.
Mrs. Isler?
Approve.
And Ms. Ralph?
Approved.
So approved. Recommend approval of fundraiser as submitted.
So moved.
First, Mrs. Pugh.
Second.
Second, Mr. Nichols. Roll call vote, Mrs. Pugh.
Approve.
Mr. Nichols.
Approve.
Mrs. Isler.
Approve.
And Ms. Ralph.
Approved.
So approved. Rentals. Recommend to approve request of Kelly Whaley, Sussex Tech Adult Division, for use of 2 classrooms at Laurel High School from September 2025 to May of 2026 on Mondays and Wednesdays from 2:45 to 4:45 to hold credit recovery classes for Laurel High School students. Certificate of liability insurance provided.
I recommend approval with use of facility fee waived, custodial fees waived, and constable fees waived.
All right,
Second.
first by Mrs. Isler, second by Mr. Nichols. Roll call vote, Mrs. Isler?
Approved.
Mr. Nichols?
Approve.
Mrs. Pugh?
Approve.
And Ms. Ralph?
Approved.
So approved. Recommend to request Zach Furbay, Laurel Middle School Assistant Principal, for use of 2 to 4 classrooms and gymnasium at Laurel Middle School from September 2025 to May 2026, Monday through Thursday from 2:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. to hold after-school program in partnership with the Boys and Girls Club. Certificate of liability insurance provided.
I recommend approval, use of facility fee waived, custodial fees waived, and constable fees waived.
Second.
First, second, Mrs. Pugh. Roll call vote, Mrs. Isler.
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh.
Approve.
Mr. Nichols.
Approve.
And Ms. Ralph.
Approved.
So approved. Recommend to approve request of Joey Jones, Laurel High School football coach, for use of Laurel High School practice football field on Tuesday, July 15th, 2025, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. to hold 7-on-7 football games. Certificate of liability insurance provided.
I recommend approval with use of facility fee waived, custodial fee waived, and constable fees applied.
Second.
First by Mrs. Isler, second by Mr. Nichols. Roll call vote, Mrs. Isler.
Approved.
Mr. Nichols.
Approve.
Mrs. Pugh.
Approve.
And Ms. Ralph.
Approved.
So approved. No trips. Recommend to approve the 2025-2026 Delaware School Board Association membership of $5,313. These dues have been budgeted and approved by the Director of Finance as submitted. Do I have a first? Motion dies for no first or second. Possible action on executive sessions, items. Attachment A, Personnel Professional. Recommend to approve the personnel report with recommendations as discussed in executive session as listed in Attachment A.
So moved.
First, Mrs. Pugh.
Second.
Second, Mr. Nichols. Roll call vote, Mrs. Pugh.
Approve.
Mr. Nichols.
Approve.
Mrs. Isler.
Approved.
And Ms. Ralph.
Approved.
So approved. Personnel Attachment B, Support Staff. Recommend to approve the personnel report with recommendations as discussed in executive session as listed in Attachment B.
So moved.
First, Mrs. Pugh.
Second.
Second, Mr. Nichols. Roll call vote, Mrs. Pugh.
Approve.
Mr. Nichols.
Approve.
Mrs. Isler.
Approved.
And Ms. Ralph.
Approved.
So approved. Personnel Attachment C, Cafeteria. Recommend to approve the personnel report with recommendations as discussed in executive session as listed in Attachment C.
So moved.
First, Mr. Nichols.
Second.
Second, Mrs. Pugh. Roll call vote, Mr. Nichols?
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh?
Approved.
Mrs. Isler?
Approve.
And Ms. Ralph?
Approved.
So approved. Personnel attachment D, coaches. Recommend to approve the personnel report with recommendations as discussed in executive session as listed in attachment D.
So moved.
First, Mr. Nichols.
Second.
Second, Mrs. Pugh. Roll call vote, Mr. Nichols.
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh?
Approved.
Mrs. Isler?
Approve.
And Ms. Ralph?
Approved.
So approved. Future agenda items. We have a student hearing next Wednesday night here. Reorganization board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, July 2nd, 5:30 p.m. right here, Laurel Middle High School cafeteria. The regular board meeting scheduled for Wednesday, August the 20th, 2025 at 7 p.m., Laurel Middle High School cafe. Do I have a motion? We adjourn.
So moved.
First, Mrs. Isler.
Second.
Second, Mr. Nichols. Roll call vote, Mrs. Isler.
Approve.
Mr. Nichols.
Approved.
Mrs. Pugh.
Approved.
And Ms. Ralph.
Approved.
So approved. So we adjourn at 7:26 p.m. Okay.